In 1981, Roland released a small silver box designed to replace a bass player at rehearsal. It could not do that. It could not really sound like a bass at all. Roland built around 10,000, gave up, and stopped production within 3 years. The boxes went to pawn shops. Around 1985, two men in Chicago bought one secondhand, turned its knobs while the sequencer ran, and the noise that came out is generally credited with starting Acid House. The TB-303 bassline, TB for transistor bass. It came from the same desk as the TR-808. Tadao Kikumoto ran the Roland R&D team responsible for a family of compact, affordable machines, the DR55 and TR-606 drum machines, the MC202 sequencer synth, the TR-808, and the TB-303. 2 years later, the same engineer would design the TR-909. The 303 shipped as a pair with the TR-606 dramatics, styled to match, size to stack. The idea was accompaniment. A guitarist practicing alone could program a bass line and a drum pattern, press start, and play along. Roland's advertising said as much. The machine was pitched as a computerized session player. Program it once and it holds the part all night without complaint. It cost $395 in the United States, £234 in the UK, cheap for a synthesizer, expensive for a practice aid. The brief was realism, a machine standing in for an electric bass. Judged on that brief, the machine failed, and the customers said so. A monophonic sawtooth through a resonant filter does not sound like strings and a pickup. It sounds like what it is. Inside there is one oscillator. It produces either a sawtooth or a square wave. A switch picks one. There is no LFO, no velocity, no aftertouch. One voice. The filter is the part that matters. It is a 4-stage diode ladder, low-pass filter, a topology with its own history. The diode ladder was originally an English workaround, developed at EMS in the 1960s to avoid infringing Moog's transistor ladder patent. In a diode ladder, the stages load each other electrically, so the poles interact in ways a textbook filter does not. Engineers still argue about whether the 303's filter rolls off at 18 or 24 decibels per octave, because it genuinely does not behave like either. There is also a high-pass filter hiding in the resonance feedback path, which is part of why software recreations took decades to sound right. Modelers who copied the textbook missed the part that was not in it. Around the filter sit two circuits with outsized consequences. Accent, a per-note flag that pushes envelope depth, volume, and resonance behavior at once. And slide, a glide between notes that never re-triggers the envelope. Cutoff, resonance, envelope modulation, decay, accent, 5 knobs wired into one another, turned while a pattern plays. They do not sound like a bass guitar doing anything a bass guitar does. Then there is the sequencer, and the sequencer is famous for the wrong reason. The memory holds 64 patterns. Programming one means entering the pitches first in one mode, then entering the rhythm separately in another without hearing the two together until playback. It is very easy to end up with a pattern you did not intend. It is also easy to lose everything. The memory is battery-backed, and a flat battery erases the lot. The market's verdict was quick. Guitarists found it unrealistic and difficult to program. Production ended in 1984. Roland had planned a chord machine companion, the TC-404. It was canceled when the 303 flopped. The machine did appear on records in its intended lifetime. In 1982, Charanjit Singh in Bombay recorded 10 ragas to a disco beat, running a TB-303 and a TR-808 together under Indian classical scales. A record so far ahead of its genre that when it was reissued in 2010, listeners assumed the dates were a hoax. In 1983, the Glasgow band Orange Juice put a 303 in the UK top 10 with Rip It Up. Those records used the box more or less as designed. The records it is known for did not. By the mid-1980s, discontinued 303s sat in pawn shops and secondhand ads for under $100. In Chicago, that price met a specific audience: house DJs working in bedrooms, buying whatever made sound. Around 1985, Nathaniel Pierre Jones, DJ Pierre and Earl Smith Jr., known as Spanky, got hold of a secondhand 303. Accounts of the price vary between $40 and $50. By Pierre's account, they did not program it so much as interrogate it, turning cutoff, resonance, and envelope, while the sequencer ran patterns they had not fully intended to write. The sound that came out has been described with one word ever since: squelch. A resonant filter sweeping across a sawtooth, accents spiking the resonance, slides smearing the pitches together. They recorded a 12-minute track built on it Marshall Jefferson produced. Before it was ever pressed, the tape circulated in Chicago's clubs. The DJ Ron Hardy played it at the Music Box so often that dancers knew it as Ron Hardy's acid track before the maker's own name stuck. Trax Records released it in 1987 as Acid Trax under the name Future. It is generally credited as the first acid house record, and it named the genre. From Chicago, the sound crossed to the UK, where by 1988, acid house had become a national event. Warehouse parties, a tabloid moral panic, a yellow smiley faces insignia, and the 303's squelch as the signature sound of an entire summer. The machine never went quiet again. German techno producers rebuilt a whole subgenre on it in the early 90s. Every generation of dance music since has kept at least one 303 line running somewhere. Follow the price of one machine, $395 new in 1981, under $100 used in 1985. By 2014, working units sold for over 1,200 pounds, and clean ones have gone considerably higher since. The 303 is one of the clearest cases on record of an instrument's value being created entirely by its second audience. The first audience returned it to the shop. The demand built an industry of recreation. Software first. In 1997, the Swedish company Propellerhead released Rebirth, a program that put two 303s and two Roland drum machines on a desktop screen, with Roland's blessing. Hardware followed. The Zox Box, an open source kit from 2005 that reproduces the original circuit component for component. The Devilfish, an Australian modification by the engineer Robin Whittle that extends the ranges the original panel locked away. Roland itself returned to the design twice. The TB-3 in 2014 and the TB-03 in 2017, a miniaturized reissue of the original interface, wrong battery covers, and all. Behringer shipped its TD3 clone in 2019 at under $200. Cheaper, adjusted for inflation, than the failed original. There is now an informal holiday, March 3rd, 303, and the designers found out late. Kikumoto has said Roland did not know about the machine's second life in American and European dance music until 1992, when someone from an overseas department told them. The same interview, the same year, the same discovery as the 808 story, the company learned what its machines had become a decade after the fact from its own export office. Acid House settled on this machine, and not on some other cheap synthesizer for reasons a schematic can show. The accent circuit does not just make a note louder, it feeds the filter envelope and resonance at the same time, so an accented note snaps in a way no separate volume control produces. Slide never re-triggers the envelope, so tied notes pour into each other. A pattern with accents and slides in the right places stops sounding like discrete notes and starts sounding like one continuous writhing line. And the sequencer that guitarists could not program turned out to be a pattern generator. Enter pitches half blind, let the rhythm mode redistribute them, and the machine hands you phrases you would not have written on a keyboard. None of that is playable on a bass guitar, which is the point. The machine failed to imitate an instrument and succeeded unattended at being one. The knobs are the performance surface, and the performance is the filter, not the notes. The realism it was built for came to nothing. The 5 knobs on the front, wired into each other by a cost-conscious circuit from 1981, turned out to be the whole instrument. Roland set out to put a bass player in a box and missed. What fit in the box instead was a sound no player of any instrument could make, and for 10,000 machines, that turned out to be enough.